College, a step up from high school and a whole different world when it comes to stress and workload.
And here at Berkeley, there always seems to be homework to do, projects to be completed, and midterms to study for. And because of all that, the last thing on students' minds, and possibly one of the most important aspects of a healthy lifestyle. No, I'm not talking about a balanced diet or daily exercise. I'm talking about getting a good night's rest.
Sleep deprivation is one of the most underrated causes of headaches, stress, irritability, and as some researchers claim, poor grades for college students. Most students feel like they can get by these few years on ridiculously low amounts of sleep, and feel that sleep is, well, a luxury in life at this age.
How much sleep would you say you get on average every night?
I get around 6 or 5 hours.
6 to 7 hours a night.
Approximately 6 to 8 hours.
I get about 6 hours of sleep a night.
How many hours of sleep do you think you need every night?
At least 6 hours.
I need at least 8 to 8.5 to 9 hours to function okay, but I don't get that every night.
Personally, I function best with about 8 to 9 hours.
Unfortunately, research suggests that these notions are quite skewed. The study of sleep has become a hot topic in psychology in the last few years, and here at the psychology department at Tolman Hall, many researchers at the Berkeley Sleep Labs have been determining the effects of lack of sleep in adolescence. Studies show that starting early in high school, there's a trend of teenagers getting less and less sleep as they get older. However, studies also show that the average sleep need remains relatively constant over adolescence, around 8 to 9 hours. On the other hand, the average teenager only gets 7.5 hours of sleep. Now, this trend of sleeping less can be attributed to many factors. Through adolescence, the brain undergoes a change that pushes back the time people go to sleep. Sure enough, as students get older, sleep times are pushed back later and later. The problem here, as you may know, is that these students are expected to wake up at roughly the same early hour every day for classes, despite their age. Therefore, in general, students get less and less sleep as they progress through their youth.
So, students get less sleep in college than they do when they're younger. Big deal, I think we all know that. So why should we care about how much sleep we get every night? Well, this field is still very young, and there's a lot of research that still needs to be done. But multiple studies have shown that lack of sleep has more adverse consequences to cognitive functioning and general well-being than we have thought in the past.
Most students have sacrificed sleep at night to finish their work. Some even stay up the whole night. Pulling these all-nighters may be a way to get work done, but can students really recover from the sleepless night and still manage to absorb information the following day? One study tested the effects of staying up all night and recalling information learned on the spot. 2 groups of individuals memorized a list of words, like the box on the left. Subjects were tested with a list of words containing the old list, but included extra words, and were asked to identify them. One group was forced to stay up through an entire night, but were allowed to catch up on sleep for 2 nights afterward. A second control group learned the same list of words, but slept normally all 3 nights. The results show that even after the test group had a chance to recover, as most students often do, they did on average 40% worse than the control group who had proper sleep. That 40% could be the difference between acing and failing an exam.
And then there are other studies, like the one done by Professor Matthew Walker, who showed that sleep plays a crucial role in memory consolidation.
One of his experiments was called the transitive inference test, and looked at how sleep deficit interfered with people's ability to make conclusions between concepts. Subjects were exposed to a set of premise pairs, or associations between 2 objects. For example, here you can see one premise pair would be that D is greater than E, and hence a hierarchy can be established. The test would be whether people could deduce these inference pairs, or associations that are not directly stated but related to the hierarchy. For example, here, B and D make up what's called the first degree of separation, and B and E would make up a second degree of separation. Subjects were split up into 3 groups. One group was tested immediately after learning the pairs, one was tested after a regular 12-hour day without sleep, and one was tested after a night's rest. While all groups scored fairly equally on the premise pair recollection, the surprising fact is that the group that slept did substantially better on the second-degree inference pairs. This study suggests that sleep is crucial in consolidating information the brain picks up in the day, and to make sense of the bigger picture. For students, it's more important than ever to understand the big ideas in a college class, as simply memorizing facts usually isn't enough. It's the ability to successfully draw conclusions from the facts that is often required in classes. So while passing on sleep for 1 night might be tempting, the impacts that these experiments show can be very negative on an individual's ability to learn. With these studies in mind, let's see how students would feel about changing their personal sleeping habits, if at all.
I would be more conscientious about how much sleep I get per night, definitely.
So last year, my sleeping habits actually were a lot worse, and it just didn't really work out for me. So I tried fixing that, and well, I bumped it up to 6 hours a night, but realistically, I can't really do any better. I mean, it'd be nice to get more sleep a night, but at the same time, we also have our own obligations.
Well, I know that I function better when I get 8 to 9 hours of sleep, but it really is a compromise between sleeping enough so that you do perform at your best, but having enough time in your day to meet all the academic, professional, and social responsibilities that you have as a Berkeley student.
I would make a lot more of an active effort to change my sleeping habits and sleep earlier. But to be honest, it takes a lot of discipline, and I think a lot of students don't have that kind of discipline.
As scientists continue to research the effects of sleep deprivation, it's ultimately up to students themselves to decide how much they're willing to change their sleeping habits. Even though it's their decision, it's important for them to remember that a critical aspect of college life is maintaining that healthy balance between work and play. I'm Eric Jin. Thanks for watching.